Hey there, welcome back to our channel. I'm Yulri and this is Living in Irvine OC. We're time traveling. I'm going to dive into the history of Irvine, and as someone who's totally obsessed with history, the origin of words, places, and stories, I can't wait to share with you what I've learned so far. And if this is your first time here and you're curious about what it's really like to live in Irvine, California and the surrounding areas, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you're always in the know about the latest information. I live and work and shop and do everything here in Irvine, and honestly, I love it. So helping people like you make the move, whether it's in 9 days or 90 days, it's what we're all about, and we'd be thrilled to help you make that transition as smooth as possible. So let's learn a little bit more about Irvine together, shall we? Once upon a time, not in a fairy tale, but right here in what we now call Irvine, this land was home to Gabrielino Tongva people who lived here way long before we ever called it Irvine. The rivers and the hills and the wildlife that still shape Irvine today were all part of their world. And I love that we can still see and experience some of that nature today in our wildlife corridors and nature preserves. So let's take a moment to honor the Gabrielino Tongva people as the original stewards of this land. Fast forward to the 1800s, a Spanish land grant transformed the area into massive rancheros where cattle roamed and vaqueros rode, as in Spanish cowboys. I can't imagine how different this land looked back then with cattle all over the place. And then came the big change. James Irvine, an Irish immigrant, came 1878. He bought over 110,000 acres of land, basically the size of a small country, and turned it into Irvine Ranch, where Lima beans ruled, as in Lima beans. You heard that right. Not oranges, which a lot of people think, but Lima beans. You can still experience a piece of this history today by visiting the Irvine Ranch Historic Park, home to the original ranch headquarters. When you go visit, you can see some of the original ranch structures that represent the agricultural history of Irvine and the greater Orange County. Now, what about the rest of the farmland? We all know it didn't stay farmland forever. In the 1960s, Orange County was booming. Suburbs were sprouting up like wildflowers, and the Irvine family teamed up with what we now know today as University of Irvine to plan a whole city from scratch. We're talking sidewalks, schools, parks, even shopping centers. They were all designed before the first house was ever built. It was like Sim City on steroids. That's why so many of these neighborhoods in Irvine feel so cohesive, from Woodbridge's lake communities to Cypress Village's walkability and Stonegate's pocket parks. It was all intentionally designed that way from the start. So Irvine was built on this village model where each neighborhood is self-contained with its own parks, pools, and schools. And each village tells a different story, which makes it fun. Woodbridge, for instance, was built around 2 man-made lakes in the 1980s to promote that water lifestyle community. And Portola Springs pays tributes to the region's natural beauty. And Altair, one of Irvine's newer communities, represents Irvine's luxury evolution. Let's switch gears for a moment. Irvine also has some interesting military history too. The El Toro Marine Corps Air Station, aka El Toro, was commissioned back in 1940s during World War II, and it played a very critical role in Marine Corps aviation on the West Coast. It was then officially decommissioned in 1999. With a lot of environmental cleanup, it evolved into what we now know as Great Park and Great Park neighborhoods, a very popular destination for families all across Orange County and even Orange County and San Diego. It's also a highly desirable neighborhood for people who want to move to Irvine to more newer modern homes. And as you've heard here today, Irvine's history spanned generations, from the Tongva people to rancheros, Marines, and modern day master planning. And it's not just history, it's living history. You can walk Jeffrey Open Space Trail, which follows original ranch roads. You can shop or dine at the Irvine Spectrum Center, where parts of the land once hosted those Lima bean fields I talked about earlier, or visit Tanaka Farms and have some strawberries at one of the last remaining working farms in Irvine. So whether you're already a homeowner or just thinking about planting fruits here, understanding its past gives you a whole new appreciation for what makes this place so special. I had such a fun time going over the history of Irvine with you. So if you've learned something new, hit that like button to show some love, and drop a comment if there's a neighborhood or topic you want us to dive into next. And don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more deep dives into Irvine, whether that's urban living, history, lifestyle, and everything in between. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.